The Philadelphia 76ers pushed the Houston Rockets to overtime, but were able to produce one of the more clutch losses that I can remember in NBA history. It took an Alperen Şengün laying off a missed free throw to tie the game and push to overtime, and ultimately the Sixers ran out of gas from there, preserving the lottery odds that we have spoken so much about. But the story of this game continues to be Quentin Grimes and the level of play that he produces, setting a new career high with 46 points in the matchup, ultimately a 144 to 137 loss that the score did end up there, but it was Grimes that was the story. And to lay out his full stat line there, we're talking 46 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, shot incredible from the field, and I am running out of words to be this excited about this player. So Ryan, I bring you in here. What is your reaction to a performance like that from Quentin Grimes and the recent stretch of play that we've seen from this guy?
I tweeted it out earlier, but I was like, don't want to curse, but like this is effing nuts. Like the tear he's on. The comparison that I would have for it over like the past couple of weeks, it's like, all right, the Sixers are that really bad like pickup team at the YMCA, but they just have that one dude who's like clearly good, but he looks a little bit better because he's playing with so many other bad players. But it's gotten to the point where it's like 46, 13, 4, 8 3-pointers. Like that's not normal stuff. Like I don't care how much of a green light he has, 27 shots. He still made 15 of them,
Yeah.
14 3-pointers. He still made 8 of them. Like he's got the ultimate green light, but he's scoring 46 points and getting 13 rebounds. Like this is not normal behavior, and it's looking awesome. And for the Sixers and how cap strung they are, probably with money, the Paul George situation remains to be seen this offseason. But it's gotten to the point where it's like I don't want Quentin Grimes to play anymore because I think he's playing himself into such a large contract that the Sixers might not be able to afford him. A and B that he's playing too well that he's going to win them some games that they shouldn't win. Like I texted you because I've been plugged in on a lot of March Madness stuff today. I was like, did the Rockets sit a bunch of guys or like what's going on in this one? And you're basically like, no, like, Quentin Grimes is kind of just out there snapping, and it's like the Sixers can't be beating the number 2 seed in the West if they want to go on it and increase their chances of getting this top 6 pick.
Yeah, and totally fair there. And to be perfectly honest, like this should be like a wake up call kind of performance for the Rockets there. This was embarrassing from them. I do think they're a little bit of a fraud playoff team for this year's perspective. They're moving in the right direction from an overall organization. They got a ton of young talent there, but I think they're probably a little bit ahead of the timeline. So there will be games like this. But it was an embarrassing effort tonight that they did not show up. And it was Quentin Grimes that took full advantage. Now, it's interesting you bring in sort of the good player, bad team conversation. We're seeing him in a vastly different role than we've seen in any other setting. When you think of Quentin Grimes, or my perception of Quentin Grimes, when he came to Philadelphia at the deadline, it's a pretty pure 3-and-D style of player. That yes, there's a little bit more juice to him than that he can beat guys off the dribble. He showcased things like at that time, but he's never remotely in his career had this level of basketball freedom. And he spoke a little bit about this. Shout out to Grant Aspeth of Sportskeeda and DraftKings Network there, who sat down and caught up with Grimes. He's an awesome Mavericks reporter, and he asked Grimes, and Grimes said, quote, to give me a lot of freedom with the ball, a lot of opportunity to go out there, play my game, be ultra aggressive on the offensive end, whether it's making a play for myself and my teammates, Grimes said. That confident boost from the coaches gives me even more confidence to go out there and play the kind of carefree and play through some mistakes out there. And he also was asked directly about his experience in Philadelphia thus far. I also forgot the little storyline of him being traded here the day they were trading, or they were playing the Mavericks, so him walking right across the arena there. Kind of forgot how that went down. But he was asked about Philly, and he writes, it's too early to predict the future or make bold comments, but Grimes has enjoyed his 76ers experience thus far. The time with the organization will help him navigate his future when dealing with restricted free agency this summer. Quote, I feel like I have a really good relationship here in Philly, Grimes said. I'm loving everything that's been going on so far with the coaching staff, training staff, players. I'm really happy here in Philly. Going into the offseason, that'll take care of itself. I have to handle stuff when I get there, but I'm loving myself right now in Philly. If the 76ers secure Grimes long-term, he could be a steal as a trade return. He has all the makings of a strong complementary talent, playing next to the Maxey in the backcourt and while supporting George and Embiid. And that is the conversation that I want to slip in here. As I think it's pretty clear to me, the backcourt of the future is the trio of Tyrese Maxey, Quentin Grimes, and Jared McCain there. As far as the money conversation, to be completely clear about this, and I did in a previous video pull up the direct interview from Yossi Goslin there speaking about the direct cap applications, he's a restricted free agent. And what that means is that the Sixers will have every opportunity to match. And in general, from a cap perspective, there isn't really a limitation of what they can get to. Now, it's a sliding scale that when you give him this amount of money, it takes off from this category. There's a lot of intricacies into it that I don't want to dive into right now. But the main point of this is regardless of what that number is, if another team sends an offer, the Sixers can match that without
Yeah.
too much of a punishment there. So by my eyes, and again, it is a sliding scale with other moving parts here, but Quentin Grimes better be back in a Sixers uniform under every circumstance next year. You agree with that, Ryan?
Yeah, and also I think me and you both need a smack upside the head because we both were a little upset on trade deadline day or whenever the trade went through about Caleb Martin.
Yeah,
I know we both advocated for it, but I think at that time too it was more so like the Sixers were still kind of in the mix for the playoffs potentially. This is certainly was a move to look for the future, and I don't think anyone when this trade went through this expected to happen. Not once did I think either one of us would say under no circumstances can Quentin Grimes leave the Sixers this offseason. Like we kind of were looking at it like, all right, a tryout basis, essentially, like what can you offer us the rest of the year and see maybe if we can get him back. Now he's playing himself into like a huge potential deal, but I agree having that opportunity another potential good move there, looking towards the future from Daryl Morey. It's like, all right, we think this guy actually has more to offer. We want to be able to kind of control his future with the restricted free agency. That's the beauty of that. That's the good thing for this scenario. How they're all going to make it work, I'm sure they're going to be able to find a way, manipulate some type of cap kind of scenario. Is Daryl Morey even back? Is there a
fair.
new GM kind of making the decision as well? But yeah, under no circumstances can this guy walk, especially with the unknown future of Embiid. Who knows if Paul George will be back or if Paul George ever will amount to a useful kind of piece for this team, especially with what he's getting paid. But when you got three guys on, forgive me if you said it, but under 25 or 26, with Grimes and Maxey, and then
Mhm.
obviously McCain, like that's something that you can build around, and we can look at as Sixers fans, kind of being like, this was a positive from this season at least.
Yeah, and I know it's not obviously what you want to hang your hat on for the season, but we can't overlook guys like Justin Edwards and guys like Jared Butler and all these guys that are kind of emerging into little roles here. And as far as Grimes overall, pretty fascinating career arc that he's had to this point. You look back in college, that he started his career at Kansas, then transferred to Houston. Then in the NBA, the Sixers are already his fourth team, that he has spent time with the New York Knicks. He has spent time with the Detroit Pistons, the Dallas Mavericks, and then here in Philadelphia. And when you do kind of see a guy being passed around or traded like that, generally you think like something's up or something's missing here. I don't know what I'm missing with Quentin Grimes, man. This is just a guy revealing layers to his game that he hasn't been able to in any other place here. And to kind of swing the question back to you, you led with a little bit of like a good player, bad team type situation. And there's no doubt that when a competitive team is fully assembled, Quentin Grimes probably is not going for 46 points on a regular basis. But when sort of projecting what he can be like as a style of player or as a level of player, what do you see for Grimes in his future? He's still just 24 years old. What's your vision for what he can grow into?
It's eerily similar to like what we said about Jared McCain at the beginning. It was like, do you really expect when the other guys are back and kind of in the full swing of the rotation, is Jared McCain going to be going out there putting up 20, 25 points? It's like, well, he's not just doing it once or twice. It's not like this is Quentin Grimes' first 40-point performance.
Right.
Already has more 30-point performances than Paul George. Like he's been given an opportunity and he's thrived. He's
Same amount
excelled.
as Tobias Harris, by the way. Just throwing that in there.
Yeah. He's been playing awesome. I got post game on behind me right now. 46 and 13. Those are not normal numbers. I don't care how bad of a situation you have around him. And for the teammates to trust him, for the coaches have to trust him. It's not like this guy's just out there jacking. Like you said it kind of at the beginning with the ideal archetype or whatever picture painted of him was 3-and-D type wing. That was what is expected. His assist numbers, I don't know if you have in front of you his assist numbers, but I know he's been much more impressive at creation than I expected, and his rebounding as well. Like this guy's an all-around player. And do I think he'll ever be the best player on a team? No, but like a really good third option, like I'm not ruling that out. A young guy that is finally getting a full chance in the NBA, and he's more than made an opportunity into a successful one.
Yeah, I think he's a starting caliber guard on like a winning team, which getting that in a trade, that's a huge win right there. So very
A second
excited.
round pick and a veteran that in Martin that hasn't done anything for the Mavericks. The
Yeah.
Mavericks had, I don't even think it's a debate, the worst trade deadline in NBA history.
Yeah, I think everyone's on the same page there.
And like, but their intention was to like improve and get better, not like get worse and tank. That's the funniest part about it.
Yeah, no, it's been an absolute disaster out there in Dallas. From the decisions made to the optics of it to the way they're handling things after the fact, literally can't be worse. I've never seen anything in any organization in any sport with how they're handling all of this here, and they're going to pay for those sins for quite a long time. Now, for the Sixers team is still currently paying for our sins. And by the way, the Dallas Dallas Mavericks have made their appearance on the tankathon chance at this one pick, despite this win now push, that they were making. But the Sixers remain in that 5th spot, so they did pick up a victory over that very same Dallas Mavericks team just yesterday there, but still in a decent spot as far as the driver's seat. There's a lot of basketball still left to be played this year. About 15 games for each of these games here, or each of these teams here. Toronto playing at a good level. Brooklyn is the team that I now have my eyes fully circled on. That is the team they need to win. Very disappointing Pelicans. Who knows? Maybe Zion can scrape his way at a couple, but I think it is probably pretty likely that sets them at the 5th spot when everything is said and done, which we take. That's over a 39% chance at a top 4 pick, 9.8% at the 1, and about 64% of straight up keeping the pick. So any lottery thoughts before we sign off here, Ryan?
Just keep losing. It's been a long season. Like when I was looking the other day, like I forget what day it was, but they still had 17 games to go. I was like, holy, like you know what? This has been the longest, most egregious season. Just finish it out in misery, please. Continue to bring on the misery. Misery, I guess at this point would actually be winning games, but just keep finding ways to lose. And I honestly think I don't know how you can get around it, but it seems like some of the other teams are. But
Oh
sit
yeah.
Quentin Grimes and basically have a conversation with himself too. Like, I mean, maybe he can raise his floor of his contract a little bit more, but like he's done everything that he's needed to do. Why go out there and risk injury for himself even? I feel like that could be a decent conversation. Maybe he rolls an ankle or something in practice this week, but that he's the only thing I think making the Sixers kind of viable to ruin their chances at this top 6 pick.
Yeah, interesting thought there, and we'll be curious if that is how things play itself out. I will be direct here that the Sixers are far from the most egregious tanking team in the NBA right now, that it is unbelievable the lengths that the Utah Jazz and Toronto Raptors and several other teams around the organization are going to. So turn a blind eye, NBA, if there's a little Quentin Grimes injury report. You've done enough investigations on this organization for the season, but regardless, we'll see how things shake out. They did a pretty damn good job of finding a way to lose in tonight's game. So shout out to the Sixers team. Shout out to you guys for tuning in these videos here. As always, want to remind you guys to make sure you are smashing that subscribe button, dropping a like on this video here. Me and Ryan will be back. Talk with you next time. Peace.